Hello, welcome to Gaming Insight for Thursday, November 13th. I'm Steve Saylor. This is your gaming news show, gaming accessibility news show, or updates about my life. I've got coffee in my Steam mug, not Steam mug. I got Steam on the brain today. In my Twitch mug. It's a little cold because I started a little bit earlier today, but I like coffee when it's cold. I don't mind it, even when it's hot. That goes to cold. It doesn't bother me as much as it does others, but so I enjoy it at coffee at any temperature. But yes, I kind of casually slipped Steam into the conversation today because that is the big news that was dropped yesterday. Shadow dropped yesterday. Steam or Valve producing brand new hardware, which is rare, by the way. They don't drop hardware like it's a regular thing. It is like we have no idea at times what Valve is up to, like half the time, because they're so secretive. So when we got this surprise announcement of brand new hardware, not one piece of hardware, but 3 new pieces of hardware, it's a big deal. And it's something that I'm excited to be able to talk about, including talking about what potential accessibility could we glean from this announcement. I'm just going to go straight to the source and literally just pull up the Steam page for this, because there's a lot of different news sources that I think are like you could talk about or grab information from. But let's just bring up the actual announcement. So
hey everyone,
let's bring up the video.
This is Steam Deck. Steam Deck is our powerful, portable, handheld gaming PC that lets you take your Steam library with you anywhere. We're pretty proud of it. People who own Steam Decks have been playing everywhere, and we couldn't be happier with the response we've heard from all of you.
Unfortunately, sorry.
We're excited to talk about the future of Steam Deck, but not today, because this isn't a video about the future of Steam Deck.
Nope.
This is a video about the future of Steam hardware. Today, we're announcing 3 new members of the Steam hardware lineup. All connect you with powerful PC gaming, all are optimized for gaming with Steam, and all are shipping in early 2026. Let's start with this one.
Okay. All right. Actually, you know what? No. Instead of going through
Or puts all of
we're gonna kind of skip through a lot of this because this is about a 6-minute video.
Snap it on the chart.
Let's just actually just going through each of the announcements that was made. So coming in 2026, the Steam hardware family officially expands in early 2026. Steam controller, Steam machine, and Steam frame, powered by Steam, optimized for gaming in any form, and just like Steam Deck, all are designed to help players get even more out of their Steam library. And we're besties. And we may be new, but it's like we've known each other our whole lives. All Steam hardware works great together, whether you're streaming or playing games across devices, including Steam Deck. And because Valve remains committed to an open PC ecosystem, we also play well with others, as in your other devices. We are made for Steam and SteamOS, which is their big their SteamOS is their operating system that is going to be running all of these devices, including connecting to the Steam controller. But the Steam Deck, Steam Machine, and Steam Frame will all run SteamOS. So let's go to the Steam controller at first. Let's talk about that. So Steam controller, you can play your whole Steam library. It's connected to obviously to that. It comes with basically a little plug and play Steam controller puck that also charges the Steam Deck or the Steam controller, which is great. But it is the wireless antenna for the Steam controller that's connected to your PC or Steam machine. It's got magnetic thumbsticks, high definition rumble, grip enabled gyros, so that way you're not accidentally moving your controller, and it will kind of, if the game runs on gyro mechanics, it's not going to like accidentally move things in gyroscopic or whatever. You basically it's grip controlled, so you basically have to hold on to the controller, which has its accessibility issues. Because when you're having to be able to grip on a controller to be able to use the gyro, it does mean you're having to hold on to the controller and be able to push certain buttons in order to be able for it to be enabled. And so they're having to be able to hold on to that can be an accessibility issue, especially for those with motor disabilities. So if you're having trouble trying to be able to like basically kind of hold on to it and basically move your arms and hands, this is definitely not the accessible way to do it. But I understand why they kind of went about it. It is an interesting idea that you don't accidentally enable gyro or use gyro in a game that needs it. If like if you're just moving the controller up like around. So that is good for motor accessibility, but not great if you want to be if you can't grip onto the controls onto the controller that well, or you can, but you can't hold it on. You can't hold on to it for long periods of time, or having to be able to push a button or hold on to a button for a long period of time. So it'd be great to be able to like maybe have that as sort of a toggle instead of a hold, but we don't know anything about that just yet. Plus, it has all the inputs you'd expect. It has control and comfort. Steam controller is built for comfortable extended play with thumbsticks, buttons, bumpers, and triggers positioned for hands of all sizes. It has trackpads. Use Steam controller to play even with your favorite mouse and keyboard games. With increased precision and customizability, it's another way to enjoy fast-paced FPS games. Motion control, a more naturally gyro capacitive touch thumbsticks, and the new grip sense feature to achieve even more precision. Grip buttons, 4 buttons on the back. You choose how to use them, all while leaving your thumbs on the trackpads or thumbsticks. Has a Steam button and a quick access menu. Customizable for Steam input. Steam controller was designed with all the inputs for all your games. Pair with Steam input, it's the ultimate customizable controller. Thanks to its input parity with Steam Deck, Steam controller will be pre-populated with community configurations for thousands of games from day one, or you can make and share your own. Steam controller plays well wherever Steam is, whether anything running Steam, Steam Deck, Steam Machine, or Steam Frame. And it's powered for Steam, by Steam, optimized for gaming for any form. So I will admit the controller is not the most attractive looking device. I kind of like it, it's this large. It's these 2 large thumb pads that are like mouse pads that essentially that kind of like take it to be like, I don't know if that's the best placement for it. I would have thought that maybe they would have created something similar to looking to a DualSense because you have that touchpad at the top and it's a good natural place for it. But I understand probably why they would not have been able to design it that way due to probably patents owned by PlayStation with their DualSense controller. But it'd be interesting if you can be able to use the touchpad for DualSense as the thumbsticks. I'd be very curious to see if that, I've never actually tried it before. I've never actually seen if you can be able to do this, because you do have DualSense support on Steam, because PlayStation has updated DualSense support for Steam because of games like they've put on Steam, like Spider-Man and Last of Us and God of War. Actually, I'm kind of curious of whether or not you can be able to map the mouse controls to the touchpad on the DualSense controller. And I wonder if anybody has modded to be able to, has created a mod to be able to do that. I would be interested in looking at that. If you know of something like that, let me know in the comments. I'd be very curious. But now, the thing about I want to focus on the Steam controller aspect is this part right here where they mention the customizable for Steam input. Steam has probably, I would say, the most robust control remapping features that I've ever seen. It is, yes, you can remap on any console in the system settings, but with what I love about what Steam does is that not only can you have universal sort of a control remapping, but you can also have control remapping for individual games. So it allows you to, and it also does support all the accessible controllers. So basically the Xbox adaptive controller. Right now, the Hori, I think the Hori controllers also work. Right now, the Access controller from PlayStation is the only one I think PlayStation still has not released PC support for that yet. So right now it sort of works, but it doesn't have full support. That I'm hoping that PlayStation, that'll change relatively soon, so that you can be able to use the Access controller on Steam with official support. But again, Steam does allows you to customize your controller and remap your controllers or inputs super duper easy, and it's so robust. Obviously, remapping controls within the game itself is always better, but when all else fails, being able to do that on Steam, always the best. or doing that it's sorry, it's not always the best. It is the second best solution. It is the next best solution for it. And I know you can do the same thing on Nintendo Switch with with their controllers. PlayStation and Xbox have remapping on a system level, but I love sort of Steam, sort of like there's a lot more under the hood to be able to customize, and also again being able to customize it per game before you even launch into the game itself, regardless if the game has remapping or not. You're able to do that. And also community, you can like basically save that profile, and community can be able to upload it and be able to, you can use that without having to customize, like fully remap everything manually yourself, which I love that. Now, before I get into the Steam Machine, let's talk about the Steam Frame, which is their VR headset that they've now updated. This is an update from their previous VR headset which was the Valve Index, which was super expensive, but it was one of the best VR headsets out there for the time. But basically, you could play VR and non-VR games with the Steam Frame. It's a Steam Frame is a streaming first wireless VR headset plus controllers that can handle your whole Steam library. Step into immersive VR or lean back and enjoy your non-VR catalog, and it supports standalone play too. Designed for comfort, easy to use. The Steam Frame headset is lightweight and compact with this weight balanced front to rear for a comfortable experience. It's also easy to just slip on and play with no wires and no setup. Now, they have someone who's a little bit older kind of showcasing this particular this feature, designed for comfort, easy to use, because in essence, it is kind of showing a little bit of accessibility because for some, having a VR headset can be a little too heavy on the head and it may hurt. So being able to showcase that like people of all ages can be able to pick up a VR headset and play, and it be comfortable, that is something that I think that is great. I think it's awesome. There are still things that need to be done to be able to make VR more accessible to more players, but essentially them focusing on comfort for the design, I think is fine. And I like that they're thinking about the weight balancing from front to back so that it's not so heavy on your face. That is also great too. High quality streaming first experience. We have a wireless adapter and dual radios. The included plug and play 6 gigahertz wireless adapter provides a dedicated link for both VR and non-VR streaming. Steam Frame's dual radios make this connection even more stable. One radio is dedicated to the streaming and the audio and visuals, and the other connects to your Wi-Fi. 2 dedicated links, no competition for bandwidth. Introducing foveated streaming. Foveated streaming is a new feature that optimizes detail where your eyes are looking and typically offers over a 10 times improvement in image quality and effective bandwidth. Behind the scenes, we're using low latency eye tracking data to steer the best quality pixels only to where you're looking. This is all happening without you noticing and works for your entire Steam library. This part I've never been necessarily a fan of. And when it comes to VR, because both the PlayStation VR 2 and a little bit of the Quest 3, Quest 2 and Quest 3, they advertise this as foveated eye tracking. The problem I have with it is that because my eyes move back and forth, I don't know what it's tracking. So I don't it might be a little bit too blurry if I try to be able to have that on. I actually can't even set up foveated streaming or foveated eye tracking in my PSVR 2 because I can't even get past the setup because it cannot track my eye. It is constantly moving so fast. So I'd be curious to see what it's like without that on. And how much battery power it would take up by just basically trying to display everything in high quality as possible without having the foveated streaming on, or that just tries to do that automatically. I hope not, because then it just means that it's going to be a very blurry experience for me if I was to try the Steam Frame. Who wants pancakes? This thin and light and actually wait, hold on. Okay, hold on. They keep. It's going back here. This thin and light custom pancake lenses provide edge-to-edge sharpness and a large eye box. Optics feature 2060 by 2060 LCD panels, one per eye. One per eye. Supported refresh rates are 72 to 144 hertz. Now, if you're wondering what does pancakes have to do with it? They're talking about the pancake lenses. So oftentimes in VR headsets, there is a bit of a kind of a curved sort of like look to the lenses, whereas pancakes are flatter or a little bit more concave. So that way, it basically you can be able to if you're wearing glasses, you can be able to wear the pancake lenses are better because they're not basically touching the glass isn't touching both your lenses and the lenses of the VR headset. I've actually had my glasses literally be ruined because of non-pancake lenses basically scraping my lenses on my glasses. I've had to. That's why, like, these glasses I have right now may look similar to my old ones, but they were literally scratched from a Quest 2, unfortunately, because I was trying to be able to I was trying to be able to wear it with the glasses and having the lens as close to it as possible. So pancake lenses is supposed to help fix that. Also, the seamless audio experience. Steam Frame has a high fidelity audio via dual stereo speakers on each side. The speakers within each pair are oriented in opposite directions to cancel out vibrations, which can be a tracking system buzzkill. So that's good because vibration with trying to be able to connect with the camera, which I believe is the camera tracking. So you don't have to have sensors in your apartment, which is what the Index, I believe. I can't remember if the Valve Index actually had tracking pods that you had to have, or that was something else. I think it might have been the HTC Vive that had that. But camera tracking, like if you're having vibrations, it can be difficult to be able to track where you are in the room. So it could basically mean that if the headset vibrates because of just the speakers itself, even the micro vibrations can mean like it could be a shaky sort of gameplay, and you don't want that for VR. You need, or at least in order for it to not cause motion sickness. It's still going to VR can cause motion sickness in general, but essentially you want to be able to have that camera tracking for it. I'm going really in depth here for this. I hope it's okay. No setup required. 4 high resolution monochrome cameras provide controller and headset tracking. Infrared LEDs on the outside make tracking great even in dark environments. That's good, actually. That's good to know. You can jump right into your games, and who it's pancakes, okay. And so easy battery access, controllers for all your games. They basically have a similar sort of setup we've seen in other VR headset tracking. Actually, that's interesting though. They have a D-pad on the VR controllers. That usually it's another set of face buttons on both sides, but I guess it's designed for inputs for non-VR games too. So I guess that's probably why the D-pad is there. And that's great. But it also has the same kind of thumbsticks that's in the Steam controller. Easy battery access. Each Steam Frame controller runs on a single AA battery, offering 40 hours of play. That's awesome. I would imagine, though, they probably would have a charging station or some sort of something to be able to charge with at some point. Controls for all your games. And supports standalone play too. Steam Frame is a PC and runs SteamOS powered by Snapdragon 8 series processor with 16 gigabytes of RAM. Steam Frame supports standalone play on a growing number of both VR and non-VR games without needing to stream from your PC. So yes, you can be able to play games on the Steam Frame without having to connect to a PC, which is awesome. And there's a developer kit for it, which is great too. So that's the Steam Frame. Now let's talk about the big boy, the Steam Machine. Your games on the big screen, and that's the key element here. Your games on the big screen. This is designed to be a PC in a console-like format to be set up in your living room. It's moving your gaming PC from your office or from your bedroom into a living room setup. Your Steam library in more places, core features that define Steam Machine. It has SteamOS. You could put it on under your TV, set it on your desk, hide it under a banana. Its powerful PC gaming packs into a roughly 6-inch cube. So basically, think of like if you're listening to this, think of it looks like this Xbox Series X, but like cut in half. So it's a cube, but it's just like it's in smaller size. It's like half the size of a Series X. It's cool and quiet. Steam Machine keeps cool and runs whisper quiet even while running the most demanding games. Input output for days or IO for days. Ready for the peripherals and monitors you can throw at it. 1 gigabit Ethernet, DisplayPort 1.4, HDMI 2.0, not 2.1, which is something that does like it's supposed to basically allow you to have 4K past 120 frames per second. So it is interesting that it's 2.0, but we'll get into that. Why I think why. One USB-C and 4 USB-A ports, but like that don't don't throw things at it. Oh yeah, that's right. CPU and GPU, 4K gaming at 60 frames per second with FSR. So think of that as 4K gaming at 60 frames upscaled for TV. Thanks to a discrete semi-custom AMD desktop class CPU and GPU. Storage available in 2 storage sizes, 512 gigabytes and 2 terabytes. Both come with expandable storage via micro SD, not micro SD Extreme, it seems like, which is what the Switch 2 uses, but it's micro SD. Connectivity 2 times Wi-Fi 6E plus a Bluetooth 5.3 with a dedicated antenna. Steam's controller's wireless adapter is built right into Steam Machine for direct pairing. That's also important. Power, no giant brick. Steam Machine's power supply is built right in, and you can be able to like have a custom front plates, which is really cool. I would love to be able to get a custom front plate for it. There's an LED strip that basically lets you know system updates like download progress, or you can customize it however you want with different colors or animations, even when the screen is off. But here's the another big thing, and it's a PC. That's right. Yes, Steam Machine is optimized for gaming, but it's still your PC. Install your own apps or even another operating system. Who are we to tell you how to use your computer? This is their part. Steam has always been a big part of the open PC ecosystem. That's why they use Linux for the base of SteamOS. So if you ever boot into the desktop mode of Steam or your Steam Deck using SteamOS, it's using Linux essentially. Actually, probably it's more Steam Deck because SteamOS is specifically its own thing using big picture mode. So probably Steam Deck specifically is running on a backbone of a Linux operating system. So basically, let's actually jump into the more specific technical details here. So it's got USB-C and 2 USB-A ports on the back. It's got Ethernet, AC power adapter, HDMI, and also display ports. It's got a power button on the front, an indicator LED, and then it's got micro SD in the front, as well as 2 USB-A controller or inputs on the front. The tech specs: semi-custom AMD Zen 4 6C /12T processor, up to 4.8 gigahertz, 30 watts TDP. That's important because generally, if you think about it, handheld gaming devices they max out at 30 to 35 watts TDP. So this is going to be the CPU that what needs to power is 30 watts TDP. You're basically equivalent. That's why they're able to keep or able to try to be able to. They can only do 4K at 60 frames because if they try to go more than that, they need more power in order to be able to do that to keep the games at a constant sort of flow essentially, so it doesn't stutter or lag. The GPU, semi-custom AMD RDNA 3 28 CUs. It's 2.45 gigahertz, max sustained clock, 110 watts DDP. So that's because it's plugged in. When it's plugged in, it's going to have more power to it, and you need more power to the GPU. That's great. It has 16 gigs DDR5 RAM with 8 gigabytes of DDR6 VRAM. So the early versions of the Xbox, of the ROG Ally, the Steam Deck have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So we're not talking like the most powerful GPU on the market. Internal power supply, AC power, 112 to 240 volts. 2 Steam Machine models. There will be 512 gigabytes NVMe SSD, and same with 2 terabytes NVMe SSD. Both models include a high-speed micro SD card slot. Has, like I said, 2 times Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.3, integrated 2.4 gigahertz Steam controller wireless adapter, has DisplayPort 1.4 up to 4K at 240 frames or 240 hertz, or 8K at 60 hertz. Supports HDR, FreeSync, and daisy chaining, and HDMI 2.0 up to 4K at 120 hertz. Supports HDR, FreeSync, and CSC. So there's a lot here, and I wanted to go into the specs more specifically because of what I want to talk about. This is more likely a mid-range PC at best, right? Okay, so we're talking. I think if I've seen like some specs are saying like it's equivalent of a potentially like an RTX 40 40 series or 4060 series GPU, or a 6900 6900 RX or RX 6900 from AMD. And like the fact that it is using AMD, they're using Valve is using the same type of same company, the same chipset that essentially that an Xbox or a PlayStation has, because they use AMD processors. And when I say it's because it's more like a mid-range PC, what I think that this is going to be, because they have not announced prices for this yet, is I think that this is going to be a cheaper console. They're trying to be able to go for the console price, which means I'm thinking it's probably going to be around $600-700 for the base model. It's probably going to be, with 2 terabytes, we're probably looking at about 1,000, maybe a little bit more just for Canadian, 1,100 for the 2 terabyte model. But you could get away with just having the 512 gigabyte and just expand it out with a 1 terabyte micro SD, and you would be set, or what have you. I think they're trying to be able to keep the cost low by having not so high end parts, so that they can keep the cost and what's the word I'm looking for? The footprint of this console being super small. It's 6 inches in cubed, so it's 6 inches in height, 6 inches in width, depth, and so it's a smaller console. So, but it's also a PC. If you wanted a cheap mid-range PC that you could also install Windows on if you wanted to, you can with this. And I think it's going to be, that's a great place to be able to be. I don't think you need necessarily the top of the line high-end PC in order to be able to run a lot of Steam games. You just need a good, decent PC. I've been saying that for a while. You can just get a good, decent PC and be able to play a majority, if not almost all, games that you can be able to play on Steam, including stuff that would normally be need a high-end sort of input, like a Cyberpunk kind of thing. But here's the thing with Cyberpunk, you can play it on the Steam Deck, and you can play it at lower graphic settings and it'll still play. You can play Cyberpunk on a Switch 2 and it still would look good. And that's the thing. A lot of games still would look good even at a small or a lower graphic settings. So yeah, you're not going to get the ultra graphic settings out of the Steam machine, but I can pretty much guarantee you're going to get some really great medium to high graphics capabilities with this Steam machine. Now, I talked about all that stuff. Now, here's all of what all of that is. All of everything we talked about, all the specs of the Steam machine, of Steam Frame and Steam controller, all of that is great. But what about the accessibility? Here's the thing. We already know what the accessibility is going to be like on this. Valve has been updating their accessibility offerings on SteamOS for a while now, including a recent update, which added a ton more accessibility into SteamOS, like a screen reader, like text size, like high contrast mode. And also, again, with it pairing with its robust controller remapping, SteamOS is already primed to be accessible from the get-go. And one thing I didn't even realize when I upgraded, or when I sort of changed this accessibility settings on my Steam Deck at one point, when I tested out the accessibility of the Steam Deck, is that it saved those settings across on my Steam account, so that when I opened up big picture mode on my main gaming PC, it saved those exact accessibility settings. It had the larger text size. It had screen reader working. It had the high contrast mode. Everything I had set. Actually, wait, no, sorry, I apologize. I think screen reader does not. I thought I heard it because I had screen reader turned on, and I don't know. Maybe it was just my own thing. Maybe it was just my own PC. Whatever. It could have been. I have to double check that. Don't quote me on that one. But it basically, here's the thing. It had all of the same visual and accessibility settings that I had already saved on my Steam Deck, saved to my Steam Big Picture mode. I don't know if that's new, but I love it, and I think that it's great. So basically, it means that no matter what device or how you're playing Steam games, except the accessibility is going to come with you, or whatever device you're running SteamOS or Steam Big Picture mode on. 100% is gonna be available on this. So all the accessibility, we've already seen all the accessibility in SteamOS is going to be there. All those same robust controller remapping for individual games and just An overall setting is going to be there. The accessibility tags will also be there when you're looking through the Steam storefront. It's going to have that information in there. If you search for accessibility tags in the Steam storefront on whether it's SteamOS or what have you, those same accessibility tags are going to be there. We already know what the accessibility is going to be like. The fact you can also add the adaptive controllers, and you can modify those too. It is still a PC at the end of the day. You can install mods on this thing, and it will like accessibility mods that the community have created from sites on like Nexus Mods. It has all the accessibility that you would want from a PC built into not only a VR headset, but also its own Steam machine. And it's the same accessibility. It's also on Steam Deck too. So Valve is really starting to push for more accessibility offerings. Now, granted, it's always still better to have accessible games, so we still have to push for that. But we already know that this accessibility, because accessibility is already there. So we know these are going to be accessible, or at least these devices are going to be accessible as best they can out of the box. And I love that. I think it's great. Whether or not there's going to be more accessibility on the way for this specific Steam machine or these new Steam hardware, I don't know. There could be. We've seen quite a few updates from Steam for accessibility this year with the tags and also the Steam OS update. So there's definitely people working on accessibility at Valve for Steam OS. So we'll just basically hope that there's gonna be more even added when these new devices launch supposedly early next year. God, I hope that means that Half-Life 3 is coming, and then it could also be accessible too. Imagine that, right? One of the biggest games ever that would be announced or couldn't be announced. If that was accessible out of the gate, I would love that. I don't have a lot of I haven't any indication or what that of whether it is or whether that's going to be the case, but a disabled player can dream sometime, right? So anyway, I would love to be able to hear your thoughts. I've waxed poetic about this for already over 30 minutes. What do you think of this huge announcement? What do you think of this new Steam hardware? Are you going to try to get it day one? Is this what would push you into, yes, I think this is going to be the console/PC hybrid that I've wanted? Or is this going to be like, it's a good thing to be able to maybe put on the TV? I don't know. I would love to be able to read your comments in the comment section down below. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Take care. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.